Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Have you ever been surrounded by people and still felt completely alone? Not because no one was speaking to you, not because you had no family, not because your phone was silent, but because somehow you felt unseen. As though everyone knew your name, but no one truly knew you. It's a strange kind of loneliness. The world doesn't notice it because from the outside, your life looks full. You go to work, you answer messages, you smile when people expect you to, you attend family gatherings, you carry conversations, and yet at the end of the day, there is a quiet emptiness that follows you home. If you've ever felt that way, this video is for you. There is a common belief that loneliness comes from having too few people in your life, but that isn't always true. Some of the loneliest people are surrounded by friends, they are married, they have children, they are admired, respected, and constantly in the company of others. Yet they still feel as though there is a distance between who they are and who the world sees. Because being surrounded by people is not the same as being understood. Psychologists often distinguish between social isolation and emotional loneliness. Social isolation is the absence of people. Emotional loneliness is the absence of genuine connection. One is about numbers, the other is about depth. And it is the second kind that quietly exhausts the heart. You begin to wonder, if I disappeared for a while, would anyone notice the difference? Not because you want attention, but because every human being longs to feel known, to be heard without having to explain every part of themselves, to feel accepted without constantly performing. Perhaps that longing exists because Allah created us for connection. He created us to know Him and to know one another with sincerity. But somewhere along the way, many of us become experts at presenting polished versions of ourselves. We hide our fears, we soften our struggles. We say, I am fine, because it feels easier than telling the truth. Slowly, people become familiar with the mask, while the real person remains hidden. Then we wonder why we feel unseen. The tragedy is not that no one understands us. Sometimes we have spent so long protecting ourselves that we no longer allow ourselves to be understood. Of course, wisdom is necessary. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Islam teaches us discretion. Our Prophet ﷺ was wise about whom he trusted, but wisdom is different from permanent emotional isolation. There is another reason this loneliness exists. Sometimes we expect people to satisfy a need that only Allah can fulfill. We hope another person will make us feel completely understood, completely secure, completely complete. But no human being was created to carry that responsibility. Even the people who love you most cannot enter every corner of your heart. Only Allah knows every thought you never spoke, every tear you hid, every fear you distinguish as strength. He is Al-Khabir, the one who is perfectly aware of what remains hidden. Think about Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. He experienced a grief so profound that those around him could not completely comprehend it. His sons saw only the surface, but he turned to Allah and said, I only complain of my sorrow and grief to Allah, not because people had no value, but because there are places within the heart that only its creator can reach. Or think about the Prophet, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, during the year of sorrow. He lost Khadija raziyallahu anha. He lost Abu Talib. The pain of those losses could not simply be erased by the people around him, yet Allah honored him, comforted him, and reminded him that divine companionship never leaves the believer. Perhaps that is the loneliness no one talks about, not the absence of people, but the quiet ache of expecting people to occupy a place that belongs to Allah alone. The beautiful part is this: once your heart begins finding its deepest comfort in Allah, something changes. You stop demanding perfection from people. You become grateful for sincere companionship without expecting it to heal every emptiness. Relationships become a blessing instead of a burden because your foundation is no longer built upon people. It is built upon the one whose love never fluctuates. Allah is Al Wadud, the most loving, not simply the one who loves, but the one whose love is constant, complete, and free from every limitation found in the human love. And He is Al Qareeb, the ever near, closer to you than any conversation, closer than the words you never manage to say, closer than the loneliness you carry in silence. So, if today you feel surrounded by people, yet somehow alone, remember this: being understood by people is a beautiful gift, but being completely known by Allah is a greater one. Perhaps your heart isn't asking for more people, perhaps it is asking to become closer to the one who has never stopped being near.